All right, guys, I apologize for being soaked, but I've been doing a lot of different projects today, and one of them is going to be the RX-7 here. If you're like me and you're here on this video looking for a solution, your parking brake cable has snapped or broken, or you need to replace it for whatever reason, that's what we're going to be doing today. So I got the parts. I'll walk you through that. We'll see how the Northeast has handled some of the brackets. We kind of, a little iffy about working on it, but either way, we got to get this thing inspected. So let's jump into it. I'll show you the parts that we got and also show you the damage and what we need to remove, just so you're aware of what you're getting into. All right, so for the parts you need on this, it's pretty simple. You need 3 main cables. So you're going to have your front cable. This is going to run from the parking brake lever back to this equalizer here, and that equalizer is then going to run to your left and right rear cables. So these are the 3 main cables. There is a caveat in this, is that as you get into replacing this, there may be brackets that hold these on that need to be replaced, but we're not going to know that until we get into the job. So we'll link these in the description below. We got them from rockauto.com. Since they're just OEM replacement parts, no big deal. So we're going to get out of the car and we'll take a look at what damage is and how we're going to approach the job. All right, so as you can see here, we're looking up pretty much, right from under the rear end, right forward to the drive shaft, and directly up here is where my cable broke off. So the problem with this is that in order to access these cables, you have to be able to remove that stuff, that hardware right there, and then coming up through here, let's see if I can get you a view, we have to be able to remove that bracket as well that holds this on. So the challenge becomes that this bracket is obviously tucked right up here alongside the drive shaft, and we have a heat shield that is really a rather substantial heat shield, but that heat shield is in the way. So ultimately, the question becomes, do you have to take the exhaust and the heat shield out in order to access this bracket here, which really is just, you're trying to remove that bolt so that this can open up and you can run a new line through. Now I can tell you right now, there's zero way I can get my hand in there to do anything, and that would be if that was finger tight. So I think we're gonna have to pull this heat shield off, and that is pretty much the only way we can access this. Now the goal I have is to see if we can remove the heat shield without pulling the exhaust off, because that just adds a whole nother layer to the system. Now this heat shield, it goes, let's see if we can show you here, it's all the way up front of the car. So really it's just going to be pieces that we're removing. And the goal with that is to just get the access that we need to that cable. Plus these, I'm just going to run it's going to be 10 millimeter. I'm going to take an extension underneath with me just in case I need to get it around the exhaust. And then just our 3/8 impact. All right, definitely opens up some more room now. See if I can get a better shot of this up here. So now we can see right up in here. Yeah, we're gonna soak this with some penetrant, see if that by some odd chance will help us, and then we'll see if we can bust it out either with a wrench or if we truly have to, drop the drive shaft in order to get to it. Then we have this one back here. Same kind of deal. Whether or not we can actually do anything with that bracket in its present state, I don't know. All right, so while that's soaking in, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this trim piece off a parking brake cable. There's gonna be 2 plastic pieces here. This one just pops off. When you pop that sucker off, you'll see there is your adjustment set. So we're just gonna turn that screw, which is gonna go ahead and release our main cable. All right, so now that we're back out of the car,
Gotta get this grommet here pried out. That's gonna let us pull the cable out from the top of the car and the main cabin. Put the grommet out. Now this is where it gets a little funky. So after looking at this, I don't think there's anything you can do but to replace, well, but to pull the drive shaft. There's no way to get access to what's left of the bolts that hold these brackets in. And the brackets are directly in line with how the cable needs to run. So even if you wanted to, just replace this with a cable that, was just kind of being a placeholder, I don't see how you would do that, because it would just rub on these brackets and it would just destroy them that way. So you can see if we can pop this out, but otherwise you can kind of see that socket I have on there right now. No longer. Bust these little clips off here. Seems like we're caught up in the cabin of the car. All right, we get that pop loose now, so we'll go ahead back under, so we can pull that out. Back under here now that we got that pulled down from the cab. So just gonna go up here with a wrench. See if we can't finish this off. Gonna have to resume the Sawyer because I got a ton of thunderstorms on the way.
All right, so we're back at it after that nice thunderstorm. But so we pretty much confirmed that you cannot do this without pulling the the back half of your exhaust off, as well as hitting the 4 bolts on the rear end and dropping the drive shaft down. That's looking like the only way that you can get the kind of clearance you need in order to get those bolts off. So at this point, we're going to bite the bullet. It's the only way to have a successful removal of the bolts under there, like have a shot at it. So we're going to go ahead and pull the exhaust and get the drive shaft unbolted.
Okay, drag that sucker out. Now that the exhaust is out of the way, gonna have to just get these rear end bolts out so we can drop the drive shaft down, which should hopefully give us the space we need. So we're gonna go ahead and just get these. These are gonna be a 14. Given that your parking brake cable is snapped, you can't break these loose without somebody going in and putting the car in gear, taking it out of gear, putting it in gear, and such and such. So keep in mind, unless you plan on getting up and down numerous times to bust these out, you're gonna have to get somebody to help you out to just make this a little bit easier on yourself. So once you have these off, you can go ahead and just put it back in neutral, pull the bolt out, rotate, and keep doing that if you can get them out. And there we go. Alright, so now you can see we've got way better access up here. You can actually see what we're gonna have to do to get these out, and hopefully we can get those clamps undone with no big problem. We got it. Less than exciting. So now we can move on to getting all this junk out of here, which obviously is pretty shot in its own right. I mean, you can see how stiff all of that is. We're gonna have to go get the wheels off so we can disconnect everything. on the back end of the car. Alright, so now that we got the rear wheel off, you're just going to be hitting this one right here. There's a nut and that's going to be 14 millimeters. So we'll bust that loose so that we can get this pulled out from this end. We'll repeat the same on the other side, and then we'll head underneath, see if we can knock those clips out near the rear end. Alright, so one end was the nut was stuck on here. All this was just corroded together, so went ahead and threw it up on the vise, hammered a 14 down on there. I had to cut it off actually in order to do so. Hammered a 14 down on, and drove home with the old Makita, and I was able to bust that one loose. So now we have all of our parts apart. Nothing is stuck on that shouldn't be, and we can get to, you know, assessing the parts that we have, and you know, how you may need to order things or look for how you're going to move forward when you're doing this job. The next step, we're going to be taking out a clip so we can remove these brake lines that go to the rear brakes. And I went ahead and looked at this after getting everything in here, and these also don't come with those clips. So yeah, you're going to need, if you lose this stuff, these two, and then you trash the clips that are on the car already, you're going to need all of that and another spring, which I'm also going to show you because my spring is totally shot. So I don't even know where you can find this stuff directly, and if I find it, I'll link it in here. I'll do some digging outside of the time working on this, but we still got to get everything disassembled, so we'll worry about that later. Alright, so we're back into the car here, and I have been working on these two clips up here. Obviously they're corroded. I'm just going to show you one right now. Been a multitude of wrenches, screwdrivers, and a hammer to break it loose from that metal up there so that I can actually pull it out. Not an easy task. I'm going to see if I can show you on camera for the next one. Hands down, this has been the hardest part of getting these off. I had to soak it for 2 nights to really be able to get them off. And this is the part I was concerned about, is technically I need more of these, or I might just use this for the replacement lines, but we'll have to see. All right, so like we talked about before, really you're going to order 3 parts. You're going to have your forward line, you're going to have your rear lines, which you're going to hook into the divider on the forward line. Now, that being said, the parts that I have found that you're still going to need, the clips, these little retainer clips that hold the, let's see if I can show you here. It's this right here. So they hold against this in order to keep it in position so that doesn't move. So those clips, this adjuster nut that goes inside the cabin and is actually what you use to set your e-brake. Then this clip here, which is actually how you hold this in place. And then the final thing, this spring out of the car. You can see it's all nasty, but that along with these parts here, I'm gonna have to find a new spring somewhere, which I mean is not a big deal. And now I have this out in one piece, I can find one. These clips I can probably reuse. This nut I can reuse, and this clip I can reuse. If I can find links to this stuff, I'll post it on there, but otherwise we're good to go. Alright, so we're back from the store. Lou just went to Lowe's to grab some springs. I assume all they have to do is just pull everything back. So if you want to buy Lowe's springs, I can put the link in there. Alright, so we got our new line. Just kind of resting in here. Gonna be putting it through that hole up there, and then we'll put the clips in, and then work on getting the center line in, and tightening everything down from there. See if I can tuck it in by hand. Alright guys, so we got our new lines in, so you just pull this in here. Really easy to set it in there, and then these have 2 nuts that you just, I've got this fully set here, and then you just back this one on there with the lock washer. Real simple. Alright, so now we're just going to try to get these clips back up in here. Let's get hardest thing to take out, probably the hardest thing to put back in, but Just gonna slide them in the same way they were before. And then put pressure from the back here to straighten out the line. Sweet. I hope I never have to touch these ever again. Alright, so now that we got those in, we'll go ahead and grab the forward cable and we'll slot that in from the bottom. Just gonna go ahead and slot it up in there. Hopefully we can get to follow a bend that works for us. And we're gonna get these in. Oh, that was a good slice. Okay, there we go. We'll get our grommet pushed up in here like we want it. Now what we'll do is we'll get the spring on here and pull the cables out. We should be good from there. Oh no.
Was that the Harbor Freight Jackson was giving out?
Probably. All right, get everything back together. Exhaust and all that's back on. So we have the e-brake pulled. We're gonna go ahead and drop this down. Let's kick out the wheel chucks here. Buddy, why don't you do the honors?
See if we can crush the bumper while we're at it.
Go push on the front bumper. Comes down, rolls right to the jack.
He's a little adjusting.
A little bit tighter. All right, guys. So if you want to adjust it, you're gonna be using that nut you put on. It has a slot in it, so you can just use a screwdriver. So to adjust it, it's pretty simple. You're just tightening that up. You got to do it when it's off. But you're just gonna go ahead and do that, and you're gonna play around with that until essentially, the car won't slide or move when it's sitting still, or in a position where it's gonna roll down a hill or something. So up to you guys. Make sure you get that tight. You put your trim back on here, and when you are done tightening this, you take this little clip here and you slide this down over the nut. So get that squared up a little bit. All right, and then that pretty much just acts as a lock nut, or lock washer, I suppose. And push that down. There you go. It's adjusted. So we'll just put the trim back on and get parking brake again. All right, so that was like a crap ton more work than what we were thinking that was going to be, and we thought it was going to be a lot of work. But yeah, if you're in this position, I hope this helped. We had to go through a couple other stuff and a couple other things and work through it, but it's back on there. We got a parking brake and pass inspection, so that's going to end it off for this one, guys.